Hello, Cyber Guardians. Today we are starting Module 2, Basics of Ethical Hacking course. And in this video, I'm going to present information gathering. Why is it important? What are the techniques that we could use? What is the impact of information gathering in cybersecurity? And we will discuss some best practices as well. So let's get started. I will, this is the outline of my presentation today, and I will start with the formal definition of information gathering and what is its significance. Then I will talk about some techniques that are already available in the market. For example, OSINT tools, we can exploit those tools to gather information. Social engineering, web scraping, network scanning, reconnaissance, these are different techniques that could be exploited to gather as much information as possible about a target or a target organization. Then we will discuss some advanced information gathering techniques. Okay, and I will talk about some tools as well. Okay, basically, in advanced information gathering tools, they combine, multiple information gathering techniques like web scraping, OSINT tools, for example, to perform high level or advanced information gathering. Then I will show some commands that we can run to gather information about a target organization, let's say. And in the end, we will discuss some best practices for information gathering. Okay, so stay tuned. Let's start it, and I will conclude with the summary of this presentation. Thank you. Let's start. Now, what is information gathering? Okay, formally, we can define information gathering as the process of collecting data and intelligence about a target. This target could be a single person or an organization, small to medium or even large organization. Okay, so it involves this process of information gathering involves network scanning, website scanning, or individuals scanning for individuals, for example, using different tools to assess vulnerabilities, identify weaknesses, and plan cyber defense or offense strategies. I will talk about these two in detail. What is cyber defense and what is cyber offense? Okay. So information gathering is equally useful, is equally important in defending your organization or launching a offensive cybersecurity towards organization, for example. So information gathering is extremely important in both the cases. What is cyber defense? I'm collecting information gathering. I'm doing information gathering for defending my organization. Or for cyber offense, for example, I'm gathering the information to launch an offensive attack on some organization. Okay. So in both of the cases, the objective is to understand the target environment. Okay. Target environment better. So like operating system, like applications installed, like tools installed, like vulnerabilities, like open ports, everything. Okay. And identify potential vulnerabilities. Okay. Or weaknesses that one can exploit. Okay. So let's explain this cyber defense first. In cyber defense, actually, information gathering helps in identifying, okay, and assessing potential security risks and vulnerabilities within an organization's network or infrastructure. Okay, so before an attacker might attack my system or my network, I would be able to know, the weaknesses of my loopholes in my organization, the weaknesses or vulnerabilities that one can attack, one can exploit. Okay, and this information gathering will enable me, for example, to take proactive measures, actually, to strengthen the security posture, okay, and to mitigate possible potential attack, for example. In cyber offense, for example, the point is very clear. You are provided with using information gathering, of course, valuable insights into the target system. So what is this system about? Okay, how many IPs or networks they are actually connected to, for example, who are the people that are working there, for example. So you can collect all this information to launch an offensive cyber attack as well. Okay, and this information gathering basically forms the foundation of launch. So this is extremely important. So information gathering is considered as the first step towards hacking. Okay, be it ethical hacking or be it non-ethical hacking. So attackers, they try, for example, different kind of attacks like social engineering. For example, phishing is a very important example of a social engineering attack. Idea is to trick a person, for example, to click a link. That link is malicious, and in order to get the information about that person or about that system that he's running on, for example, that application, we can actually learn what was he doing or what programs he is working on, for example, and we can get his sensitive data. Or network intrusion, for example, like what looking for open ports and then exploiting those vulnerabilities and getting into the system. And intrusion, a successful intrusion could have consequences, like very hard consequences, to be honest. So this information gathering plays a vital role in both cyber defense and cyber offense strategies. And why it matters? What is its significance? Okay, when we talk about significance, I told you that information gathering is actually the first step, you know, and there are different impacts, okay, based on different steps that you take in this first step. So, for example, you could conduct reconnaissance. Okay, what is this reconnaissance? Reconnaissance is basically the process to identify the target characteristics, capabilities, and vulnerabilities. Okay, so once you are done with this identification, let's say, you can actually start performing vulnerability assessment to see, you know, how these vulnerabilities, okay, could be exploited to gain the illegal access, for example, or illegitimate access. And then you can generate threat intelligence to anticipate and respond to emerging threats and incidents. This way, you can actually harness your system. You can make your system more, your organization, your network, or network organization, for example, you can make it more secure. Now, what are the goals of this information gathering? Okay, so basically the first goal is to find and exploiting the weaknesses. Weaknesses, if I'm looking for weaknesses of my own organization, it's always good. Or if I'm hiring someone, for example, to look for those look for those weaknesses and tell me, for example, it means I'm hiring ethical hacker to do this. Okay, but in any case, it will be extremely important to find and exploit those vulnerabilities. Second goal, for example, could be gaining unauthorized access to the target's data and resources. Okay, so this basically, this is more to black hat hackers, for example. Preventing or mitigating cyber attacks from external or internal sources. This would be my goal. So I would be happy to prevent and mitigate cyber attacks from external threats. And again, also like improving our own security, okay, and awareness and defense mechanisms. So this information gathering is extremely important from all perspectives, okay. Now let's start information gathering techniques now. Okay, so what are the techniques, how this data could be collected? Okay, so first technique is open source intelligence, OSINT tools. This technique, by using OSINT tools, these are open source tools. Anyone can use, for example. And idea here is to access the publicly available sources such as websites, social media, blogs, forums, news, and everything to gather information about a target. Okay, so there are multiple tools available like Tracert, like OSI, like or Who is, or IAPinfo.info, for example. You can collect the information from for of different organizations on different platforms. And by using these tools, for example, we can find the name, most importantly, name, location, email addresses, phone numbers, and interests of a person or the domain name, IP address, services, and technologies of a website using OSINT tools. So these tools, they play a vital role. I will talk about these tools in the next slides. Now, another information gathering technique is social engineering. Okay, this technique, like I gave you an example of phishing as well. This technique involves manipulating or deceiving people into revealing sensitive information or performing actions that compromise their security. Okay, and phishing is the main trick, that could be exploited to do so. So people can use social engineering to trick someone into clicking a malicious link or opening a phishing email or giving you their password. Okay, so yeah, this is social engineering kind of a thing. Then web scraping. So this technique actually involves extracting data. You might have used web crawlers or web scrapers, for example. So these crawlers, they extract data from web pages or applications using different tools or scripts. So one can write a script also to scrape all the information that is available on the website. And we can use normally web scraping is done to collect product prices, customer reviews actually, and conduct contact details as well from our website for recommendation purposes, for example. Okay. But in cybersecurity, this is also, most harmful technique. Then network scanning. This is most important from network engineer perspective or cybersecurity perspective. Network scanning means you are scanning an entire network to find open ports, which actually is the weakness. Open ports, service, protocols, and vulnerabilities. Using different tools, there are many tools that one can exploit. For example, I have written here as example Nmap, network mapping, Wireshark. Wireshark is a tool to capture packets, or Metasploit you could use. Okay. So we can use, for example, network scanning to discover operating system of the remote machine, remote target, for example. Okay, the version of the software installed and the patch level of a system, or the type of and the service of version of service running on that port. So if the port is open, we can exploit. Now, reconnaissance, this technique involves observing or monitoring a target's activities, I mean the behavior of the target, behaviors or communications using keyloggers. These are advanced level attacks, for example, spywares or snipers. Okay, so these are five important techniques for information gathering. Now, here I write some tools I wanted to show you. So for OSINT tools, for example, I gave you example of Nmap. So there could be many, like Maltigo, for example, is a very important is a very important tool to collect information about the target. This target is could be an individual or could be an organization. Shudan is a most preferred web browser for attackers actually. Google Docs, for example, you could use. So these tools allow you to search and analyze public data sources such as websites, social media, databases to find the information about an individual target or about a target organization. Okay. For social engineering attacks, you see there are many tools as well. It's like Metasploit, Set, Burpsuit, Phishing Frenzy, etc. etc. These tools allow you to create and launch phishing campaigns, fake websites, malicious attachments to trick or persuade a target into revealing sensitive information or performing actions that compromise their security. Okay. For web scraping, normally web crawling, for example, I would prefer doing it in Beautiful Soup or in Scrappy, for example, but there are some tools that you could exploit. These tools allow you to extract and pass data from web pages or applications using automated scripts or browsers. Network scanning, we can, in the next lab, for example, of this module, I will go through all these tools that I'm listing here. So we will be using Nmap, Wireshark, Metasploit. I will demonstrate you how we can gain control of the target network or target machine, for example. So these tools allow you to scan and probe a network of system for open ports, services, protocols. I will tell you like which ports are open and which services they are running. Okay, and which protocols they have installed, for example, and we will see for potential vulnerabilities as well. Okay, and for reconnaissance, I told you keyloggers, spywares, snipers, netkit. These are the examples of tools that you could use for reconnaissance. So these tools allow you to monitor or capture a target's activities, behavior. This we have already said. So now, what are advanced information gathering techniques? Okay, so basically, if I have to explain it, these are these advanced information gathering techniques, I would say. They are methods of collecting data from various sources. So not just one tool or one technique you are using. Here, multiple techniques. Data is collected using multiple techniques, and it is mapped through a single tool, for example, to see to extract the information and from various sources such as networks, websites, databases, social media, public records to support the objective of security. Okay, so for example, very first thing that I would say here is passive DNS analysis. And what is this DNS? DNS is a domain naming service, for example, and this technique could be used as advanced information gathering as well. So this process of capturing and analyzing DNS queries, okay, and responses to discover domain to IP mappings, domain ownerships, domain history, and malicious domains. They all come under passive DNS analysis. And there are websites, there are tools that actually do this. Okay. So then another technique is traffic analysis. This is extremely important information gathering technique. Okay. The process of monitoring and measuring the volume. So, you know, uh, collect all these records of normal data traffic and abnormal data traffic, you will be able to see a lot of difference between those traffics. Okay, so the process of monitoring and measuring the volume, okay, volume of upload, download, source, destination, and behavior of a network traffic, we can actually identify patterns, trends, anomalies, and threats. This technique actually, even the traffic analysis, we actually use as a researcher, for example. I use this technique to detect whether or not there is an intrusion going on. Okay, so intrusion could be detected using this traffic analysis as well. Next, fingerprinting. Okay, so the process of identifying and characterizing the features and properties of a target such as a device, for example. You can fingerprint a device, you can fingerprint an application, a user, a website, based on what they generate, what they expose, for example. Okay, so there could be many ways to do so. For an individual user, there could be different tool. For a website, tool could be different. But literally, we can fingerprint based on what they generate or what they expose any device, application, user, or a website. Next technique is, yeah, if I'm talking about the tools that one can exploit, for example, for passive DNS analysis, there are tools like Passive Total, Risk IQ, Virus Total, okay, and these tools, I wanted to repeat here again. Like these tools, for example, use they could be used to query historical DNS records to identify past and current associations, tackling domain changes, and uncovering hidden and trusted. So I would strongly suggest to check their websites, passive tools. These are just the three examples. There could be many. Okay. Then for the traffic analysis, the basic, tool that I showed you in the last video was Wireshark. So from Wireshark, you can actually capture all the data packets of related to any protocol, related to any IP, source and destination, for example, or anything. Okay, so in traffic analysis, you could try TCP dumps or grow IDS, for example. And here also, the usage of these tools, for example, is about capturing and analyzing network packets to detect suspicious activities. So, see, these suspicious activities, mind you, could be caused by malware, or could be caused by intrusion detection, or could be caused by unauthorized access attacks. So idea is from the traffic analysis, to identify whether or not the incoming access attempt is a legitimate one or it's unauthorized. Then we have for fingerprinting, there are three tools as well: POF, Nmap, Netget. By using these tools, for example, one can identify target system characteristics, including OS version, which operating system is installed on the target machine, service running, which service is running on which open port, and network configurations, for example. Okay, and to tailor attack vectors and evasion strategies. So let's now check some commands, I would say, that could be used to gather the information. Okay. So the very first command is ping sweep. What does this ping sweep mean? So this ping sweep means you can you can ping every machine on that particular network here 192.168.54.0. So this is an entire network. Slash 24 means 254 hosts could be online here, could be up, right? So using this command, nmap minus sn 192, this is actually the example IP, so you can check for another IP. So it will send ICMP packets. Since it's a ping utility, it will send ICMP packet to send, you know, to send ping to every device and check whether or not that system is up or not. So it will start from 54.1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and up to 254. And at the end, it will generate the output saying the scan is complete and there are like few machines or all machines they are up. So we will go through them once again. So NS lookup is also extremely important. We can find DNS related data query from this nslookup example.com. So this replace this example.com with your website. And we can check ports. Actually, this is what I was telling you about using nmap minus p minus this command, for example. You can scan all the ports on the specific IP addresses. Okay, and with this, for example, command, you can check, okay, service version or open ports, which services are running on which open ports. Okay, and web infra enumeration, for example, you could use widget or you could use curl, for example, to read. Curl is used to retrieve HTTP packets headers, sorry, and widget is used to download any curl. Now, for the second part, who is lookup? Who is extremely important command. We can use this who is command to actually get the data about a target. We can use email harvesting as well. Harvester minus D. We can play with these tools, for example. So at least we can have a rough idea how these things they work. Okay. So let's do some live demonstration. Okay. Okay, so here we go. Now we are starting live demonstration. And in this demonstration, I will show you some commands, for example, how we can run on Kali to find, for example, to collect information about a target. Okay, so here you can see I have uh, on one side I have the presentation, on other side I show you my virtual machines. I have Kali here and I have Metasploitable running downwards. Okay, so on Metasploitable, let's say I know its IP address is ifconfig is 10.0.2.4. Just wanted to be sure. Ifconfig. Okay, so yes, 2.4. Now let's first ping it, ping minus c with two packets only, and 10.0.2.4. So here you see I have sent two packets just to check the connectivity. Okay, we are connected. Now, the very first thing that one could use, for example, is ping sweep. What does this mean? Ping sweep is actually a utility using nmap you can do, or you can do using simple ping as well. You can do what it does. It sends ICMP packets or ping packets to every available host on the network, okay, or any IP address in that particular network. Okay, and then if it receives the response, it will say, okay, this host is up. If it has not received any response, it will say it's down. Okay, so we can do, for example, nmap here minus sn, this is actually the syntax of command, and you can try using reading the manual of this nmap as well. Okay, so minus sn, and if you have doubt in any part of this command, you are referred to actually check the manual of this nmap or take the help. Okay, so here 10.0.2.0, this is actually the network that my machines are connected on. If I'm if I click this, if I enter this, what will do? It will the scanning has been started, as you see here, and it completed within, you know, yeah. So it has found, three hosts. Just a second, I could, yeah. Here you could see three hosts, for example, and in these three hosts, let's try one more time. Yeah, and you see here, you can check the progress of this as well. So nmap scan report of 1, 4, 15. Now I will tell you what is this 1, 4, and 15. 15 straight away is the local IP address. Okay, so is the IP address of Kali. If you check, if you do ifconfig, you should be able to get this IP address on your ETH0, Ethernet 0. Then this 4 is your meta-exploitable. So these two machines are up. What is this 2.1? Where is it coming from? This is actually the gateway. Okay. So if you do r route minus n, for example, you should be able to get this IP as well. So this actually, I mean, this is the normal practice for me. I always put the very first IP as gateway. Okay. So now you have got the response from these three machines. So this scan tells you that uh, 1 is up, okay, and 4 is up and 15 is up. So only three machines. And nmap done because you have here described 24. So it says 256 IP addresses were scanned in this much time, and only three hosts were found. Make sense? Yes. Okay. So here we go. Now I clear it. And if we check, the open ports here, for example, nmap minus p, let's say minus p minus 10 dot, again, this IP address 10.0.2.0 should be replaced with 2.4, and there is no need to keep the subnet mask. Now, what will happen if you run this command? It will start scanning again, and now it is scanning the open ports on Metasploitable. Okay, so all the ports on Metasploitable will be shown here. So wait, let's see how many ports are opened on Metasploitable. And this way, by clicking enter, for example, you should be able to see scanning time as well. How much time has, how much, scan has been done. So now you should be able to see here these ports. TCP, this is port, and its status is opened, and its service running on is FTP. Okay, so these ports are open, ready to be taken. Okay, and if you, for example, right here S with V, okay, it should give you the exact versions of tools, of softwares running on these ports as well. Just a second. So you see here these versions, for example, you see VSF FTP 2.3.4. This tool is, I mean, this software is installed of this version. Then for OpenSSH 4.7, we have Linux telnet. So you can basically, get all the versions of available services as well with this command. So similarly, we have multiple tools. I'm clearing it again, like who is, for example, who is also a very important command. Okay, so who is 10.0.2.4, okay, or yeah, it should give you, for example, all the information related to this particular IP. Okay, so who is 10? I have given the IP address of this meta exploitable, and it shows that it has this range of 10.0.2.55 from So slash 8 means it can accommodate in millions. Okay. So 256 multiply by 256 multiply by 256. The resultant will be the actual number of users or hosts that can be accommodated on this network. Since it's a private network, private IP address, for example, you could create a large network of this. Now, a lot of information you can see. Okay. Also, we can try on, let's say, Facebook, for example. So I need to find the IP address of Facebook first. So ping minus C and with 2 again, www.facebook.com, let's say. Okay. And I should be able to get the IP address of Facebook. Yes, 31 here. So if I write here, who is, okay, 31.13.86.36. Okay, so if you click enter, it gives you a lot of information. So you see here, this organization, actually this IP address belongs to Meta platform. And you see here, this is the net name, country, IE, maybe Ireland. Okay, and yeah, so a lot of data, for example, organization is this, admin is this, tech data is this, Meta, MNT, and yeah, Ireland, exactly. So it's in Ireland, and you can find some phone numbers as well, which is very, very important. Okay. So the point is, you can get a lot of information, okay, by using these commands. And there are many commands that you could exploit. So I would suggest you to go through these slides and practice. And in the next lab also, which is scheduled very soon, I will be practically demonstrating how we can collect as much information as possible using different tools like Harvester, like this Net Discover, like who is like ipinfo.info, for example. There are many tools I will show you in the next video. Okay, so now back to the topic, and yeah, I just minimize this. Okay, here we were. So these are different tools that one can exploit, for example, to to get the information related to the subjects. Okay. Now, best practices, when you are collecting information, you have to make sure that you follow some best practices to do so. And the very first, you know, best practice I would say is to acquire the permission and to check all the legal considerations. So whatever you are doing, for example, if you are collecting information about the organization like Facebook, we did, for example, okay, this was just a basic command, so I did it, but technically speaking, we have to have, permissions about doing anything, okay, on these platforms. This is extremely important. And once the data is collected with the cooperation of organization, for example, or permission, once the data is acquired, make sure that the data remains safe. Okay, so your network is safer now to hold that data or to ensure the integrity of the collected data. Okay, encrypt it, for example, save it somewhere very secure. Information sharing. So once you have collected this data, make sure that you share this information. This information is crucial actually. So for preventing widespread cyber attacks, so these footprints, they are extremely important for organizations to counter these attacks. And there exist some programs like AIS and JCDC as well, which where you can actually share the real-time data, okay, to mitigate the threat indicators. Most important thing, trust is extremely important. Okay, so try to establish the trust and ensure that you are trustable. Okay, and this trust, for example, will ensure that you will work for multiple organizations and never share any data of one organization to others. Okay, establish trust among all the stakeholders that you are performing ethical hacking for. And training and awareness. So make sure that you share your findings with the professionals, for example, who are actually responsible to secure the networks, to secure to to strengthen their network, for example, and to check for responsible for their vulnerabilities, exploits, that so that they should be they should be able to remove all those problems or vulnerabilities. So this has brought me to the end of this presentation, and this slide, for example, is just to summarize what we did. So we defined information gathering, and we discussed its significance in cybersecurity. Okay, then we discussed some techniques like OSINT. This is open source intelligence tools one can exploit to gather information. Social engineering, and there were like network scanning, web scraping, or reconnaissance. There are multiple techniques. Okay, we discussed some advanced information gathering techniques as well, and we played with some commands and Kali. So I hope you have enjoyed this presentation, and now the next video will be on the demonstration of what we have learned for information gathering. So I will try to cover all the things related to information gathering in the next presentation, and it will be all lab, so there will be no theory involved. Okay, so thank you so much, and uh, see you soon in my next video. Bye.